Hi, I'm Dave Sierck. I'm going to kind of go over how I got into this to begin with, and I get deeper and deeper and deeper into things. That's just the way I am. I started off just taking pictures of clouds. And I worked for iWireless at the time, so I had access to some crazy places. This is actually my first gigapixel picture. I sat there on top of this roof and took pictures, and then I zoomed in and I took a bunch of pictures. So on this picture, you could actually zoom in and see every little detail. This is a picture that I've saved off of Facebook, so it's lost all that quality. And back to the clouds and sunsets. And another field sunset. I took this picture as I was driving down the road. I rolled down the window and snapped this out the back, or the side window. And I got lucky. And then new challenge here. I was starting to get good at, I call them like landscape sun pictures. To capture lightning is a whole new problem. You don't know when it's going to happen. I started off actually just taking a video and then taking all the frames out so I actually got the good pictures. I've kind of changed up. So I will just continually taking pictures, or I'll take long exposure pictures. This is the night of the 4th of July a couple years ago at the lakes when they canceled the fireworks. And another one.
So are you taking pictures per second?
Yes, or I'll take multiple pictures with long exposures. Okay. I want to say this was just one longer exposure on this one. And then I kind of got obsessed with this little star up here, and I was trying to figure out what it was, and it ends up being it's Venus. And this is just out my front door here. Got the moon, Venus, and Venus is always going to be in the morning or at night because it's closer to the sun. But it's the sun, moon, Venus is the third brightest star or planet in the sky, light in the sky. And then I actually want to start taking some of the pictures of the stars. This is like one of my first pictures ever of the Big Dipper. And this was I'd say maybe a minute-long picture. You could start to see some star trails going on here. You could take long enough pictures at night. They'll actually look like they're daytime at the time, especially with street lights. And that's one of the biggest problems with taking pictures of the night sky, light and clouds. I don't even know what's the clouds are real worse, but being in Spencer, big cities, you start to lose, you can't, you go to a city and, or city slickers come to like, Spencer and they're like, oh, wow, there's stars. They're missing out. I don't remember what this was here, where this was. This is when I started really taking, longer exposures here. And I'll get kind of into how I'm doing this with the camera. And then I got even better with focusing, because you can't use autofocus when you're doing this. The camera will just sit there and go in and out. It won't, you're not going to get anything. And then I got a little bit better. If you take a picture long enough, you're going to get what's called star trails. want to say anything over, like, I'd say maybe 45 seconds, you're going to start to see them. This is actually my first star trail that I wanted, but this is like 30 pictures taken about a minute apiece, but then I put too big of a space in between these pictures, so that's why you're seeing the little, not the straight lines. This is what I want to get to. This is not my picture. This takes a lot of time to do. And either you get, stay up all night, you get a Canon and you hack it with Magic Lantern. I think that's the only way to really try to do one of these pictures. Because that's, I mean, this one's maybe 3-4 hours probably that this guy sat there and was taking back-to-back pictures. This is a picture, maybe hit the light once. I was at Lake of the Woods. All I had was this tripod and a camera. And that's probably, I want to say it was getting close to about a 2-minute picture, and that's Duluth in the background. And then I flipped it around and got my campfire. The stars are crazy when you get out in the middle of nowhere. Even with that campfire, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. So one other good way to, actually get to take these good pictures, you got to get out of the cities. And sometimes you can get lucky. A meteoroid came through. I've actually been trying to look at Saturn, and I seen a bright light come through, and I backed off, and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And my wife and my brother-in-law said they're like, wow, that's crazy. But the biggest, it's actually called a fireball at this point. I've seen 2 in my lifetime. One at night, and I would have swore if it would have hit, it would have probably landed near Ruthven. The other one I saw during the day, I was driving for FedEx at the time, and out of the corner of my eye, the sun was on this side, and it was brighter than the sun. And I would have swore that would have landed about 3 miles away from me if it would have landed. But this is just luck. We could probably turn the lights back on here. This is when I got obsessed with the moon. This picture was taken with like a 300 millimeter lens, just with my camera on a tripod. And you got to take, there's quicker pictures. It's not long exposures with this. But I thought I was doing good here, but I wanted to do better. And I kept on getting a little bit better, taking my time, but it wasn't good enough for me. Uh-oh. That's probably the picture I really want. Yeah. All right, this picture was supposed to be the photographer's triangle, I call it. It's ISO. It's the depth of the film, and the aperture is the size of the hole of the camera, like of the iris, and the other is the exposure time. They're all related. So if you take away from something, it's gonna directly affect the other. So like if you're trying to take a picture of your kids and you're seeing them like streaking pictures, you're gonna want to shorten the exposure time. But when you do that, the picture is not going to be as bright. So then you got to either up the ISO or up the aperture. They're all directly related, and this is when I started really getting in depth with my camera. So you had to switch it off of auto. autofocus and auto aperture ISO and exposure time, and flip it over to manual. And that's how I'm taking some of these pictures. I'm taking like a 2-minute picture, just setting up on a tripod with my camera. And then when you're getting really good, you can switch it over to what's called a bulb mode. And you need to have a remote shutter to really do this right. You start the picture and you come up with a magical number when you want to stop that picture, and you click it to stop. The reason you have the remote is because you don't want any movement. You can't be sitting here, pushing a button, and just a slight move will mess up the whole picture. And these are other ones that I really wanted here. These are the different kind of telescopes. This is a refractor telescope. It's using glass to zoom in on things. The other is a refractor or reflector. It's using mirrors, and this is a combo of both. Actually, the picture was going to show this here, but the light comes in, comes all the way back to the back, hits a big mirror, shoots all the way back to the front, and there's actually the center here is, you've got a mirror right there, which then sends a light all the way back here to the center. So you're really just capturing light. And if you start thinking, too crazy, it's gonna be way more complicated than you ever thought it was ever gonna be. But after it gets through there, it goes through the lens part. And actually on here, I've got a focal reducer, because this, as it is, when I point it up to the moon, I can only see a part of the moon actually. With this, I'm actually I'm backing away so I can get the whole moon picture. Then it goes up to the mirror. This is just really so it's easier to stand next to your telescope, this 90-degree mirror. And the eyepiece. And this is a zooming eyepiece. But to start off, before you take your telescope outside, you're going to want to align the spotter scope with the telescope. I mean, you could do it at night if you see a street light in the distance. But you're going to want this aligned with the telescope, because when you're out trying to take pictures of Jupiter or Saturn or even the moon moves quite fast, or we're moving fast. So I've been, when I started off with this, I get Jupiter, all perfect, like I'm going to take a picture. 30 seconds later, it's out of my zoom. And it's really hard to find without a spotter scope. Second thing is to set this telescope outside for a while to let all the temperature equalize. Any difference in temperature, especially in the summertime when the heat and the moisture, or in the winter time, you're going to want all the same temperature. You're going to take a lot better pictures actually during the winter. But set it up. This is actually a German Equatorial mount. I think that's what they say. This is just a normal pan and tilt. This is what gave me problems too, because I was constantly had to move both at the same time. This is aligned to the Earth's rotation, so it's easier to stay focused on something when we're moving. But to align this, you got to find Polaris, and to do that, find the Big Dipper. The front of the Big Dipper actually points to a star, so and that's what you're going to want to be looking through this telescope, or this little spotter scope in here. I can pass that around here. Kind of see See the Little Dipper and Polaris. So once you have that done, and you're on a level ground, you got to level this. If you take this at a different place anywhere in the world, you're going to have to change the latitude, what it's set to. But once that's all set, we're going to flip it on. And there's two little lines back here. It's saying set to index. This is considered like zero. I'm calibrating it. To Polaris. Hit enter. Got to know the time where you're at. And then there's a couple different ways to really calibrate it. Like you can either pick a 2-star, 1-star, or a solar system object. And like right now, we kind of all know where the moon is. Yeah. Yep. First, you eye it with the spotter scope, and then once you got it in the scope, after they should be aligned pretty close. It's going to tell you to. It's like a micro line. Like you can barely even hear this when it's moving. I can't even hear it. Hit align. It's successfully locked, or it's all calibrated now. So now. You could pretty much look at anything, and this really helps where to look for things. And once you start understanding where things are, I mean, everything's going to be coming up. And the most interesting things, like planets, the moon, they're all coming up from the east. It's called the Zodiac Trail. I mean, everything comes up and around here. Like Orion is about this. It's closer to the sun right now. Orion's more of a winter constellation. But I like looking at planets. So you can, type in anything. Jupiter is going to be coming up soon. Probably going to be looking at the dirt. Okay, never mind. We just took the USB stick out. That's why we're not finding anything. This is what I meant by the using your camera. The lower you go on this ISO, and ISO is the depthness of the film. The less, not dust, but you're going to get a lot more quality when it's lower on the ISO. They say f8 is a really good number to start with. And then the shutter speed, the higher the number, I mean, this is in fractions, the longer it's going to be. So just using a camera, you have control over all of this. So sticking this on a tripod, it's nice having aperture control too. And on here, this is called piggybacking. There's a mount straight up here. Having it on this telescope with the motors, I can take even longer exposures on things because I'm not going to get the star trails or the Earth moving the picture. It's not going to be blurred. And taking pictures like this or on a normal tripod just with a regular camera is still like one of my favorite I guess, types of astrophotography to do. I like the landscape pictures, but there's not a lot of really good things around here. Some people get like churches or mountains or like a cactus or something to kind of base the picture on. And this is the refracting telescope going through glass. That's how it's. This was a night of the blood moon or a lunar eclipse. It's kind of a far picture here, but then a closer up version here. This is kind of why I got into this. Solar eclipses or lunar eclipses, solar eclipses. I have used this for a solar eclipse before. I've stuck a bunch of aluminum foil over the front and poked a few holes in it, and I could see the moon in front of the sun without blinding myself. And that kind of brings me up to another thing. Looking at the moon, it's really bright looking at that eyepiece. I mean, it's like your eye is getting baked. And that there's, I've got, I don't know what you call these things, filters, yes. There's a moon filter, there's all sorts of different colors, like when you're looking at different objects, it'll help kind of bring out the detail a little better. But the moon filter, you almost have to have it in there when you're looking at the moon through that, because it's just so bright. And even looking at the moon during the day. So this was my first attempt at Jupiter. I plan on doing even more of this. I mean, I like trying to get some more detail out of it. When you're focused a little bit further back, you see four of their moons pretty clear too. But here I'm just trying to get Jupiter, and this is actually with this telescope. This is not even really a telescope. This is actually just like a really big lens. Get it on Amazon for maybe 150 bucks. It comes with a T-ring adapter, so you can plug it into your DSLR camera. And some people think this is scary, taking your lens off and leaving it open like this. And that's how I'm hooking this, or at least this one will come apart to actually fit on there. This will fit then on the back of this telescope. So you're pretty much using the telescope as a lens. But when you're doing this, you're losing all the aperture. You have no control over that anymore. You only have the ISO and the exposure time. So it makes things a little more difficult than taking pictures with the actual lens. And then the third way, how I got, a little bit better Jupiter, and then I got even a little bit better, is a technique called eyepiece projection. I'll take this and a smaller eyepiece, and I will put the eyepiece in here, and then I will put this over top, and then screw the DSLR in the back. So it's actually, the light's going through the telescope normally, but it's also going through the eyepiece, which before, you're not using the glass of the eyepiece to do a little more zoom. So you can bring up Saturn and Jupiter a lot closer. And this really looks like this. It blew my mind when I first saw this. When you're looking at it, and this is just one picture I took to take better pictures of planets. Like I think the other one here, this might have been 20 pictures I took. And I'm taking all the pictures and I'm stacking all on top of each other. And there are actually programs to to help you align it and to figure out the quality of each picture. So you're getting the best of each picture, because every picture you take, there might be like atmosphere that's messing with you, or just the light coming through, all that. It's really kind of unsteady. I'll kind of show you looking at the moon. It's a video I took when I was just starting out, and I actually put this on Google or YouTube or whatever, and I had people then telling me, oh, move it over here. Then we went and looked at Saturn. We'll get. And I'm still not quite focused completely. And I've actually stopped taking as many photos and videos as I did, because I just like looking through the telescope. It's addicting, standing out in my yard. And that's one reason I got this telescope. It's a 6-inch. You can get bigger, but then you're going to be trapping more light pollution. And I wanted to use this in my own backyard, and I knew that there was going to be light pollution, so they recommended this one, so it's not too big and it's not too small, and I can still see things.
I have to ask now, because I'll bring it. How come we don't see stars in that?
I think it's because it's the light pollution bouncing back off the moon. Okay. Because like when you're looking at stars or planets that are on the other side, like the halo around the moon, yeah, they kind of go away.
Okay. Almost all of your planet pictures don't have stars.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you're zoomed in that close, you're really, and actually in the viewfinder, I'm getting it to be looking about this size in the viewfinder with using the eyepiece projection. When I don't, it's backed out. Can't back out that far, but I can actually see like the moons around here. They look like little fuzzy dots. One way I actually focus now, in all these pictures, I'm not using automatic focus. When I'm taking pictures with the actual lens of stars, you want to go to what's called infinity on the lens. And usually you can see, not on this one, it's a little little figure 8 looking symbol on the lens. Once you go to that, everything's gonna be nice and crisp. When I have the camera hooked up to the telescope, I guess, at least on these Canons, I will eye it first, and then when I know what I'm looking at, I use the actual display. I'll zoom in twice, and then I'll focus. Then I will start taking pictures. Stars, even planets, if you're way out of focus, it looks like a fuzzy donut. You're going to make big fuzzy things, and things look like they're pulsing funny and stuff like that. You can stick this on the top, and this will help you focus on especially stars. And it's actually going to make more of a perfect X, I guess, or a diamond shaped with the light coming off of it, so you know that you're focused at that point. Before that, you're going to have just, lights everywhere, and you're not really knowing if you're focused or not.
Is that just a temporary thing?
Just a temporary thing to take off, and then I'll take it off when I'm good and focused. A couple different attachments to add in. They're called Barlow Lenses. Stick this on here. I'm looking twice the distance that I was before. And this is a 3x Barlow. I lose a lot of quality when I step it up to this. I mean, this is actually my favorite one. And I mean, I've got all sorts of different eyepieces with all sorts of different different links. Oop, these are not my pictures, but these are other astrophotographers that have taken it. I mean, Mercury, there's only a little tiny bit of time that you can actually get this, and it's so close to the sun, you're just seeing another light. Same with Venus. Mars is probably the third hardest. Jupiter and Saturn are some of the easiest ones to start with. After you master the moon, go to Jupiter and Saturn. This is next on my list. This is not my picture. You see here, this is four 4-minute exposures. Actually, and I have this actual camera of they call these deep sky objects, galaxies or nebulas, different star clusters. This is kind of in the northern sky. This is the closest galaxy to us. And after this is why I kind of got into astrophotography. I love these kind of pictures, and this is the Horsehead Nebula. I found out that this doesn't really look like this. This is an artist's interpretation of the different lights. I mean, this might have been all like white color, but then they added the pink in there. I was really upset when I found that out. One of the reasons I bought the telescope was to take a picture of a comet. If you don't have your own telescope, I've never tried it, but the slew.com has their own telescopes that you can remote into to take pictures all you want. They also have like little shows whenever there's anything coming close to us, like, I mean, comets or asteroids, or they'll monitor it, and they kind of started an open, team of people all over the globe, kind of helping with this. But I don't know what it costs, but it's kind of cool to do it kind of, and especially in the wintertime, you don't have to get outside in the cold. This is Stellarium. It's a free program. Get it for Linux, Microsoft, even your Android. This is kind of how I predict or plan what I want to look at. And the nice thing about this, I can have this plugged into my telescope even. So we were kind of near Jupiter. See that? I could take the atmosphere off, so I can see even during the day and kind of predict. So when I find something I want to take a picture of, I can actually slew to it. And that's going to move to the moon now. This is really nice when it's really cold out. I can stay in my house or my garage and have it all moving outside and be taking pictures. Or if a bunch of clouds come through, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll even monitor. I'll take a picture every so often, so I don't have to even go look outside. I don't like this view here. Kind of more makes sense. But you can go to any time now with this. And like I said, the stuff mostly comes out of the east, kind of goes up top, and then it kind of sets in the northwest. And then see Saturn right there, and you can see the time. So that's 1:52 in the morning. Saturn will start to come up. So you can kind of plan ahead. But there's all sorts of different settings here to help know your way around here. You start learning some of the constellations. Like I said earlier, with the Big Dipper.
Can you make pictures of the space station?
I have not been able to do that. The space station's moving so fast, but there is a good program. It's like something Heavens, Open Heavens or something like that. You can get on your Android and it'll tell you when it's going to be passing over your head. I think that's it. You got any questions or? Yes.
How much does that huge telescope cost?
I have more money wrapped up in the mount than I do the telescope.
I think I'd ask it differently. So, this is one of my questions. If you were to guess how much money you had wrapped up in your whole venture, just estimate,
Okay.
how much would you say you have invested?
Your wife won't see this video.
Yeah, we'll make sure.
Oh, she knows about it. The mount was 1,000. The telescope was 500. Some of these lenses and these Barlow lenses, $75. With this kit of eyepieces, probably another $100. I had a DSLR camera. I have now 2, but like just even getting this T4i is, with the lens is probably at least 1,000. I got a 6D now that's with the lens. I was getting closer to 3,000. This is the cheapest thing I bought. $150 on eBay or on Amazon. Comes with the T-ring to connect to your Canon. And this is what got me like hooked on this stuff. Once I could take pictures of the moon, then I just wanted to go further. Then.
What is that lens called?
This is OPTEKA, Optica. This even came with a Barlow lens, so this will go to 2,600 millimeters. Is that right? And this is the other good thing. It does. You can zoom with this too, where I don't have any kind of like that. But yeah, without the Barlow, it's 1,300. When you do have this, it was really hard for me to focus because a little tap will do a big thing. So I was coming up with little different ways of just pulling on it a little bit. Any other questions?
The reflect telescope.
Yes.
Because the eyepiece is caught out of the middle of
Yep.
the lights. Is it one continuous field, or is there a hole in the middle?
There is no hole, and I was really confused how that even works. I think it's because of the mirrors wrapping around. But yeah, I was like, am I missing something here, or it's you see the full field.
Does it fisheye doing that, or
With the focal reducer does a little bit. It kind of feels different when you're looking at things. But the other, when you take that off, it really feels like it feels weird actually looking through the telescope, especially when you see Saturn for the first time and you could see the rings. Looking around the moon is really fun. Seeing the stars in the background when you're looking at Jupiter from a little distance, it feels really weird.
is it reversed at all?
When this is moving around, that's one problem because you're really not gonna. I might take pictures. I might be looking up at something like, especially the moon. I go back at my pictures and they're completely sideways. When you're looking through the spotter telescope, it's completely reversed. But then you're never really on like a flat plane with this, because when it gets to, I think, 180 degrees or whatever due south, it will completely flip around. It takes probably about a minute to do. I'll show you guys how. The other cool thing is, if you're out looking around with this, and you don't even have to have your laptop out here, you can manually move this around and find something. There we go.
So how do you use it most of the time? Do you use it with the software? Do you use it manually, or?
I've gotten kind of lazier as I went to. I used to have this all hooked up at all times, but then I kind of got better at what I'm doing, and it's quicker for me to just take this out and find what I'm looking for. That's more for, I like for planning things. But say if I find something interesting, I mean, I can hit identify, and if it's a solar system item, I'm somewhat close to the moon. It's telling me the distance away from the moon because I picked the solar system item. Different stars. There's a little, like a sky tour, they call it. So we can go to the Andromeda Galaxy. So you can you keep on flipping through and finding interesting things.
What are your camera settings when you're shooting them?
What's that?
What are your camera settings when you're going to take a picture of them?
I am completely in manual. I will try to zoom a little bit, but it's normally infinity. But with the lens, I mean, you're not going to get. I mean, when you take a picture just with a normal lens, I mean, it's going to be really tiny, so you're not going to get all that much detail on the moon. When you're hooked up to one of these scopes, you're gonna get more detail. But I'll start off with ISO like 100. I will, then I'll start moving up the ISO to like 3200, 6400, and it's kind of a trial and error. I'm looking at the settings on the camera, and you're seeing the light exposure, kind of like when you're taking a normal picture, but it's mostly then kind of a trial and error. If you want to take long exposures, you're not going to know what you're going to get until the end of the exposure. I mean, you're going to start off taking, you know, a minute picture, and you're going to know that your settings are way too much, and you're going to just have like a white picture then. So there are sites that will give you like an estimate of when you want to shoot the moon, when you want to shoot Jupiter, and get you a lot closer. I'm more of a feel. I mean, I'll get it narrowed down. Once you really understand that photography through the triangle, everything will be clear. Because I never knew what TV meant, what P meant. I didn't know any of that until I started getting into this, and I'm like, wow, okay, now I understand what I'm doing, why I'm getting streaks when I'm trying to take pictures of my kids, how I can take pictures of people jumping, high-fiving, and snap them, you know. So.
Is there a better time of the night, or I guess place within the sky to take pictures of this?
When it's later in the night, you're going to get less moisture or less atmosphere, but wintertime is actually one of the best because you're not getting all the heat rising, and it's like you're looking through another lens even at that point.
So if you're taking pictures of objects that are closer to the horizon, you don't see a big difference in mirage or anything?
You do. I mean, just kind of like when the full moon's coming up, look how big it is when it's off to the side, and then when it gets up top, how much smaller it gets. The reason is because you're looking through all that atmosphere. So.
Have you ever seen anything unexplainable? UFOs, such?
That's what I was going to ask.
I have. Sure. I have not. I have seen, but I'm looking at the moon. Almost like an asteroid or a meteoroid, like slamming into the moon. The craziest thing is when birds fly by. When birds fly by,
Important question.
I'm like, what is that?
Have you ever seen the American flag left behind?
That's what I
No,
want to know.
I'm-
Have you seen the American flag?
I have not seen the footsteps. I have not.
Just saying, John.
Speaking my language now.
So based on your observations, are you able to tell like the curvature of the Earth, or would you
I-
think it's flat?
I do want to take this to the ocean and do a little experiment.
Is that a yes or a no?
I don't want to say.
Not your wife, don't talk to us in questions.
I guess any other?
Thank you.
Thanks
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot.
Cool.